Hey, good morning. I have been remiss in not doing videos or pictures lately. It has been kind of a crappy couple of months, honestly. I mean, nothing, hello, Radagast. Nothing horrific, I would say, but just lots of frustrating stuff happening. I'll share a little bit of that with you. And I've got to keep an eye on her. Yes, Ms. Leah. Come say hi. Hi. Yes. So, let's see. Starting back around, I don't even think it's been a couple months. It's been less than a month, but it feels like it's been months. Anyway, so back around, would have been like the last week of June, maybe? Anyway, noticed that, and I might have shared this in another video, but I'll just kind of give you all the background of what's been going on in case you didn't hear that one. Lobelia, who is my littlest flock member, she's not my youngest, but she's my smallest, little black Welsh mountain, who of course is not gonna, well, there she is. She's up there with her sister. She is the black Welsh mountain closest to me. So right, I don't know, I can't see. She ended up with an ulcer in her eye. I didn't know it was an ulcer. I didn't know really what it was until I took a picture of her eye that was all cloudy and shared it with my vet friend. And she said, yeah, it looks like she has an ulcer. She probably got something in it. And of course I'm like, well, of course she did, because our world is covered in cheatgrass, our pastures. Down here it's not as bad, but up on the, what I call the big land up there, like where that tree is, and then all the way over, anywhere that you see brown, there's just lots of really crappy grass. And I'm sure there are various varieties, but I lump them all in and call them cheatgrass. And she probably got something in her eye. Okay, one of the little thingies from it. So, I can't even remember everything that happened. I think that was a Friday night. Saturday morning, we took her up to Potlatch, Idaho, which is half hour from here, maybe 20 minutes, something like that, not too far, to a vet clinic that I had not used before, North Palouse Veterinary Clinic. And I love them. I love Dr. Fernandez. I love all the vet techs. They just did such a great job with her. Turns out whatever caused it had come out. She had managed to, like blink it out. But the ulcer was big. She had a big ulcer in her eye. And ulcers like that will not heal up on their own. They will just keep spreading and spreading. So she had to be on antibiotic ointment in her eye twice a day for 10 days. Now, the problem with this situation is that my husband was leaving a couple days later to go to the coast for a trip that he takes every year. And so I would have nobody to help me. And so I reached out to one of the WSU vet students who had reached out to me about helping us with hay this summer. I am so grateful for those students. They do such a great job. So I reached out to her and said, she had mentioned she didn't have a lot going on this summer. I said, would you be willing to come out twice a day for the next 10 days or so? Because David was going to be back at some point in there. But just help me get this in her eye. And her name's Heather, and she did it. And oh my gosh, just lovely, hardworking, super kind young woman who's going to make an outstanding vet someday. We got a system where it was pretty easy to grab lobelia usually, and it worked out great. So that was fantastic. Now, around the same time this was happening, I noticed that Eleanor's eye was clouding up. And Eleanor's my great big clun forest right there. And I was just distraught because lobelia is small, doesn't weigh as much as the others, and she is more tame. She was easier to grab. Eleanor, there would be no way. Absolutely no way. So my brain going where it does, when I feel like I have an impossible situation, I have to think of worst case. And it's like, well, if we can't get a hold of her and she loses an eye, she will have to be put down. So that's my headspace. I have to think worst case scenario in all things and know that there is a plan in motion if everything goes to heck. All right, so I made an appointment for Animal Clinic, my doctor there, to come out. They do farm calls as well, but they don't, like, you can't bring sheep to them, so they can only do farm calls for sheep. So I had them come out to look at Eleanor, and I said, I can't even guarantee we'll be able to get her. And Heather said she would come out and help round her up too. And I said, you know, why don't I have you look at Lobelia too while we're looking? And I got smart. I had a brainstorm for once in my life and realized that when it's really hot out, all of the sheep will go up into what we call the big barn, which is not big at all. But Leah, no, to me. Hang on a second. To me, now. That is a no-no. You can't do that. Lie down. Down. That's a good girl. Stay down. Please don't bite Lobelia, because really. Stay down. Stay down. There we go. You've got cheatgrass on your noggin too. Yes, I just saw some. Okay, sorry. So I realized that all of them will crowd up into that little barn, or the big barn, during the heat of the day. And if I'm really sneaky, and I had the fan running in there so it's noisy, I could run up and shut the door and get them in. And lo and behold, my friends, that's what I was able to do. So the vets, the vet tech, and Heather all showed up, and I was up there leaning against the door to keep them from breaking out. Anyway, long story short, too late. Eleanor did not have an ulcer in her eye. Dr. Much thought, you know, she might have just hit it on something. She might have, you know, been scratching her face on a tree, which she is known to do, and probably just bumped it and it clouded up some. But she said there's no ulcer. She did she stained it to make sure. And she stained Lobelia's eye as well. And it was hard to see in there, but it looked a lot better. So, okay. So then that was great. Didn't have to treat Eleanor for anything because there's no ulcer to treat. Then when David got back, we had to take Lobelia back over to the vet clinic in Potlatch, and they restained it. And what was happening at this point is the ulcer was getting a lot smaller, but the top part of her eyeball was all red and inflamed. And Dr. Fernandez thought that it looked like she had injured it somehow, again, probably rubbing on a stupid tree because their faces itch. And she said, okay, well, we probably need to do 10 more days of the ointment. She said the other option that we could do is plasma. So they would spin up plasma from her blood, and we would do injections into her eye, because that apparently heals stuff really, really, really fast. The downside to that is she would have to be treated every 4 hours around the clock. So I said, like, really? Like, we couldn't skip a couple in there? Like, couldn't skip the midnight and 4 o'clock one or whatever? And she said, you could, but it's just not going to work as well. So I decided we're going to do the ointment for 10 more days. And this time, when Dr. Fernandez put it in, she lifted the upper lid and really squirted a whole bunch on the top part of the eye. And so I started doing that same thing, and within like 2-3 days, it was clearing up. So, I feel like I dodged a bullet. Oh my gosh. So she goes back on Wednesday for a follow-up, but I think it's going to show that everything is fine. Now, I'm going to just keep talking because there's more to tell, folks. Oh my gosh. Last night, when I was feeding everybody, I noticed that Ruby, my oldest, my queen, who is right down there next to Radagast, I'm walking behind him now, she had one of her eyes all scrunched up, like all closed shut really tight, and there was just stuff pouring out of it. Not like pus and crap, but just water. And it was clear she was hurting. So I go in the house, I'm like, David, you're not going to freaking believe this. And I was upset. I got upset. Not at him, just upset at life and like, why is this happening? And he said, but she hasn't even been anywhere where there's cheatgrass. And I said, yeah, I know. So maybe it wasn't cheatgrass that caused lobelias. Who knows? Anyway, we went back out. He got a hold of Ruby, and I managed to open her eye. And what I thought, no, you stay back. Back. Okay, down, down. Good girl. That's a good girl. Yeah, you don't need to be so nosy about her either. No, you don't. Go eat your food. Um, I was a little bit just bummed because it's not like I'm going to be able to open her eye and see what's going on. You know, I don't have the equipment. I can't stain her eye. I certainly don't have the knowledge to do it. So I just felt like, well, yeah, we can go squirt some ointment in it, but it's not going to do any good if there's something in her eye. He said, yeah, well, that's all we can do for now, and then make an appointment to take her in. Okay. So we go out there, and he gets a hold of her, and I open her eye, and I can see exactly what it is. It was like the tiniest little stem of something, like maybe a piece of hay. It wasn't like a cheatgrass barb or anything like that. It was, oh gosh, I would try to show you. Yeah, I see. I'm looking at like some of this really wispy stuff. It wasn't even that. It was thicker than that. So I think it was like a tiny piece of hay. Anyway, I managed to pull it out. It took about 4 tries because she was flinching, of course. I'm sure it didn't feel very good. Which reminds me, I need to make her a sandwich with some meloxicam because that'll make her feel better. Anyway, I need a keeper to tell me what to do sometimes so I don't forget to do things. Anyway, I managed to pull it out, and I showed it to David. He said, I did it. And he goes, see, now you know how to do this. And I said, well, yeah, if it's sticking out of her eye and very clear and obvious. If it had been way down in some other part of her eye, I wouldn't have been able to get it. But he was being encouraging, and I appreciate that. So I pulled it out, put a great big gob of the ointment in her eye. And this morning, it's still weepy. I thought it might have looked like it was clouding up a bit, but he looked at it this morning, and like this morning it's weepy, but it's open. She's not trying to keep it shut anymore. So I am 90% confident that one little piece I pulled out is what was causing her the problems. And so we're going to just treat her like we have lobelia. Just do the ointment twice a day. And dude, my dude, there is nice green grass where you just were. And now you are up here trying to eat a thistle. We'll just sit with that for a minute. Please don't get something in your eye. That's all I'm asking at this point. Anyway, so Wednesday, lobelia goes back. In the meantime, I'm going to treat both of them twice a day, make sure we get everything taken care of. And because it's Ruby and she's really easy to catch, I'm going to take her with me on Wednesday with lobelia to the vet and have her just double check that there's not something else in there and stain it and see if we're dealing with an ulcer. In addition to all that, it has rained twice on my hay that is still stacked out in the field, and we're supposed to go get it tomorrow and Sunday. And I'm trying really, really hard not to fret because there's nothing I can do about it. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's supposed to be hot. Not as hot as it was yesterday, but it's supposed to be hot. And it's very windy. So my hope is that it's going to dry it out enough that we don't lose a bunch this winter to rot and mold and stuff. Anyway, it had been ages since I had checked in. Wanted to share the update about the eyeballs of my flock. Hi, Freckles. Hello, you are such a pretty girl. She says, and I don't get stuff in my eye, Mom. Yeah, except she's the one. She's the one who that first year when we got her, she had something going on with one of her eyes. I think it was like one of her eyelashes had grown really long and had poked her in the eye or something. There was something crazy with one of your eyeballs too, and it had to be treated. Yes, I'm worth it. I am worth every penny and every minute of time you have to spend dealing with us. Yes, because it's not dealing with you, it's because I love you. I love her. She has a little permanent smile on her face. Like, okay, Mama said she loves me. I'll go graze somewhere. Anyway, like I said before, the pastures are not great. I think I said that before. In my win column, I'm pretty happy about this. This wonderful girl young woman that I know here in town is going to mow it all for me. It might take a while. In fact, it will take a while because there's just so much all the way over there and then all the way over there. But she got started yesterday and it didn't scare her away. So hallelujah. The plan is too, is she's doing a lot of research for her goats, as far as like reseeding their pastures. And so she and her husband, who's a vet tech, have been doing lots of research as to how to get the grazing back, how to get rid of all this stuff. And it just has to be mowed down. It should have been mowed down before now, but now I have a helper and we can work on it over the next few years. He's an itchy boy. At night I hear that noise that pole makes and I'm like, oh, someone's scratching their butt on a pole. It's like, I wasn't scratching my butt, I was scratching my sides. You're such a handsome boy. Look at, oh dear, no. Leah, to me. Come on, nuh-uh, to me. Leah, nope. You too. Look at this. What are you doing? You're a goober. Okay, anyway, we are working on plans for the pastures, different ground covers to help put more nutrients back in the soil, get the ground covered like we need to, and hopefully get my pastures healthy again. Honestly, I don't think they've ever been that healthy, but we're going to work on how to make them better. I guess that's the goal. And get more food for these guys. Yes, because they're very important. Alrighty, I will let you go. I just want to remind you that, as always, there is BlainFleeceandFiber.com. That is my website where you can find my store. I don't have a ton in stock, but I have beautiful yarn from Arwen. I have only 3 skeins left of beautiful yarn from Dee Dee. And I have a gorgeous, gorgeous blend of rosy cotton and Snickers in roving form. It's so beautiful. I can't spin a lot these days. I've restarted spinning for Tour de Fleece that's happening right now. And I'm doing a little bit, but I'm trying to control my enthusiasm so I don't overdo it and hurt my arms. But I'm tempted to start spinning some of that blend because it is soft. It's got the beautiful, all the texture, the cool texture of Rosie, who is the black Icelandic way up there, with Snickers breeds. Where is Snickers? Oh, she's up there. You can't really see her that well. She's like right there. You can see kind of a white back. It's not really white, but it's gray. That is Snickers. It looks white in this light. She has, what does she have? Finn, Suffolk, I do this every time, Dorper, and Dorset maybe? She's a mutt, but she's a beautiful mutt. And so that blend of her fleece mixed with the Icelandic like I said, you got the texture of the Icelandic, but you've got extra softness built in from Snickers fleece. So I highly recommend you grab some and before it's gone, because I probably won't do that blend again. Also, that will probably be the last roving I have in stock for quite a while, because the fleeces that I sent to the mill back in June, no, it wouldn't have been January, it would have been April. Yeah, after April's shearing. All but one of those fleeces is being turned into yarn, and the fleece that I am having made into roving is for Tour de Fleece next year. I believe that's Dee Dee's. So I will have some Dee Dee roving available next year, but there won't be a lot because I send. So here's something. If you're a spinner and you're on Ravelry and you're looking for a team to spin with, you should always come spin with Blaine Fleece and Fiber, because first of all, it's just a fun group. It's low pressure. Actually, it's no pressure, 0 pressure at all. And I've got some of the most enthusiastic, generous, warm-hearted members who just everybody cheers each other on. And it's really a fun group. The reason I mention it, though, is because if you spin on my team and you post 5 times, so just 5 days, 5 entries, so you show just for 5 days of the tour, you show that you have spun, That gets you, well, first of all, every day that you enter, you're entered for prizes, and I always have lots of great prizes. But everybody who does the 5 days minimum gets a little pin showing the mascot of the year, and this year it's a deer, and they get 1 ounce of her roving. And so the point to this story is that next year, when I get Dee Dee's roving back, I have to save about 22 to 25 ounces out for all of my team members who do the 5 days minimum. The rest of it I will offer for sale, of course. Again, point to that is that there's not a lot of roving coming down the pike this next year. There's going to be a lot of beautiful yarn from all of my sheep. But if you're looking for roving, I would strongly suggest you grab some of that Rosy Cotton Snickers blend, because it is luscious. All right. I have yammered for 21 minutes, folks. I appreciate you listening if you made it this far. And I appreciate your interest in and care for and love of my fellow sheep. All right. You take care wherever you are. Please stay safe. Watch out for the fires. Just wherever you are, stay safe and take care of one another. All right. Thanks for listening.